All right, we're already a few minutes over, so let's get started. So, hey everyone. Today I wanted to go over some ways you can effectively email college coaches during the college recruiting process. My name is Colin McAtee. I'm the founder of Productive Recruit. I'll go over a little bit more about me here in a little bit. Today I just want to go over a few minutes about myself, and then I want to go over briefly about how you can stay organized in the recruiting process. Then I want to go over the key part of this presentation and probably why you send up, how you can effectively communicate with college coaches. Go over some key points. Obviously, can't cover everything I'd like to, everything you need to know, but go over the main things that I see as most important, some good tips for you. Go over a little bit about my product that I'm offering, Productive Recruit, and how that tool could help you in this recruiting process. And then leave some time at the end, hopefully, for some Q&A. Save your messages for the end. You can post them in the chat. Or if I can figure out how to mass unmute everyone, maybe I can do that and you guys can ask questions. So a little bit about me. I'm originally from San Diego, California. I grew up playing multiple sports such as baseball, basketball, soccer, obviously. And I also love surfing. Um, for those that play soccer, you might be familiar with San Diego Surf. That's what I played for growing up, and I also played for Torrey Pines High School. In college, I played soccer for the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. I redshirted my freshman year and then went on to become a four-year starter, which was an awesome experience. Just a little aside, being a redshirt was a really scary thing looking back on it, but if that does end up happening to you, do not don't get too sad or depressed or worried that you need to transfer. Those thoughts that go through my head, but it ended up working out great for me. So just stay on the course, be persistent, keep working hard, and things can work out. Went on to earn some accolades like 2014 first team All Big Ten. Went on to be a team captain. I was a dual major in economics and Spanish, although I will admit that I can barely speak Spanish anymore because I haven't caught up with it. So I do recommend if you decide to major in a language to try to keep up with it. It's a valuable skill. Next, so a little bit about me post-college. I now live in Chicago, Illinois. I started a career in software development about 3 years ago now. I created a product called Sock Recruit, which I've now rebranded to Productive Recruit so I can cater to all sports, not just soccer. And yeah, I'm actually launching the new Productive Recruit platform here, hopefully next month. So I'm excited about that. All right. This is not the main part of the presentation, but I think it's really important to understand how to stay organized in the recruiting process and kind of just go over like what the recruiting process is, right? So that's what we'll go over here. So we'll go over like what the process is, maybe like where you currently stand in that process. Um, Talking through like some different types of recruiting tools you can use to help you manage that and stay sane and have more time for the more important things like studying and sports. And then just talking through the workflows, like staying consistent, things like updating your profile or consistently reaching out to coaches, things like that. Because if you stay stale in the recruiting process, you're not going to necessarily see the results you want. You need to keep pushing, and not that you have to do a lot every day, but you got to put in the work and consistently email coaches and things like that. All right. So I've outlined here what I've called the 5-step college recruiting process. And this is not from a book or anything. I kind of put some thought into it. I'm sure this is something very similar that someone else has put together before. It's just like I put some thought into it a few months ago and kind of like wanted to make this more succinct and easy to understand. So the first phase is what I like to call the discovery phase. And I'll get through this quickly because a lot of you probably already know this stuff, but if you're in middle school or, early on in your college career, 9th through 10th grade, you should be making your target list, researching schools, doing all that stuff, making sure that your goals align with your grades and your athletic ability. So don't, you know, if you're realistically not good enough to play D1, don't just put a bunch of D1 schools down, right? Or if you're not going to have a 4.0, don't just put Ivy League schools down, stuff like that. Um, and actually, I'm going a little bit too far into that right now, but like I do want to make this point. I have it written down here. So the recruiting process is basically like a super long job application process, or the parents that are on the line that might be in business, like a sales process. So the product that you're selling is yourself. And so you need to have the accolades, which are like the skills and the grades to do the job. So, however, if you're never like reaching out to colleges and you never start the process of talking to those schools and engaging with them, you're never going to get recruited. The only caveat there is maybe if you're like one of the top players in the country. If you play football, you know, if you're that top recruit, or soccer, if you're ranked number one on Top Drawer Soccer, sure, like maybe the coaches are crawling to you, but for most of us, including myself when I was getting recruited, you're kind of like a ghost. No one knows about you until you make yourself known. And today I really want to focus on this number 2, which is outreach to college coaches. That is the main piece. The other pieces are like getting recruited, like going to the camps and showcases, your unofficial and official visits, so you can do your due diligence and understand, like, is it actually a good fit when you see the coach in person and meet the whole staff and see the facilities, and then your offer phase. So one of the first things that you might think is like, okay, so Colin's talking about staying organized in the recruiting process and finding a way to manage it all in one place and save time. How can you do that? Do I have to pay? Well, the quick answer is no. There's actually a lot of great free options. And even though I'm going to be offering a paid option, I don't necessarily recommend you have to do that. It's all really up to you. What I say is here, it's bold and white, is pick the tool that helps you save the most time so that you can focus on improving your grades, test scores, and skills, etc. So if you have an Excel sheet, it might look like maybe you have like a row for each college coach. And you keep that updated with their contact information when that changes, or if maybe you make some statuses for yourself, like you're in contact with them, or you know, they sent you an offer, or they're not interested. You basically just want to make it very visually easily for you to understand where you stand in the process with every school. If you want to use pen and paper, which is super old school, but I love the idea of it, is that you could have a page for every college that you're talking to. The harder thing with paper versus Excel is it's going to be harder to keep it updated and look nice, at least, unless you have really good handwriting. And then the last option is an online platform. You know, there's millions out there, including Productive Recruit, that can help you keep all that information organized in one place. All right, take a moment, read over this. So this is the most important thing I want to talk about today, is how to effectively communicate with college coaches. These are just like 5 key things that are important to no matter what sport you play. Being personal and professional, that's a given. This one's actually one of the ones I harp on a lot. If you're one of the ones who follows me on Twitter, is keeping your emails clear and succinct. So not telling coaches everything about yourself, your whole life story. While it is important that you can connect with them personally and, you know, them get to know your personality, that's better suited for phone calls usually, or like official visits. When you're especially when you're first emailing them and you don't have that personal relationship yet, you really want to keep them clear and succinct, so that, because they don't really have enough time to sit there and read paragraphs on paragraphs of information when, you know, hundreds of recruits are emailing them each week if it's a D1 coach, for example. You always want to be following up. This is another thing that I talk through a lot, and I'll get more into it here in a little bit, but this is like, honestly, probably in my opinion, if I was going to rant about it, the most important part of the recruiting process that people don't understand is following up. Like, a coach might not read your email, they might not get it, they might forget about it. So they're people, right? They're people like you and me. They're busy. They're not like ignoring you. It doesn't necessarily mean that they don't want you if they don't follow up with you. So continue to follow up with them. even if they can't reach back out to you, which I know many of you might be in a situation where they can't contact you yet. So doesn't mean that you shouldn't be reaching out with updates. So keep being persistent with that. Leveraging multiple channels, which I'll get into some channels I like besides email that you can leverage, and then maintaining a professional online profile. So being personal and professional. The main thing here is that, and you've probably heard multiple people besides me harp on this, is that you need to be like make emails personalized. You can actually use templates, and I'll show you one here in a little bit. That is just an example. But if you're using a template, only like a few sentences should be like part of that template, where like the other part of that template should be like, insert the research you did here, or like look up how they did in their last few games. And or like maybe you say you watched their film and you really liked how this play went, or how this player handled this situation, or that pass that player made. You really want to basically show that you've actually showed interest in their program. Actually, it's like even better, don't just look at their website, try to do some more digging into the coach's background or the team's background, maybe learn their playing style, things like that. And then being professional, I don't need to go on this too much. Like, I'm sure you're all professional. If you've even taken the time to join this meeting, you're obviously like serious about the recruiting process, but make a professional email address. Don't use, I don't know, some burner account or some random name, like a nickname or something. Like, use your first initial, last name, last name. A lot of people recommend your grad year, maybe your sport. Using something like Gmail is great for that. It's free, it's easy. And then obviously on Twitter and stuff, or Instagram, because coaches will find you. If you want to have like an account where you maybe do more inappropriate things, which I still don't recommend, like make sure it's private. But still, parents, players, I do not recommend that. And do not call a coach by their first name unless they tell you it's okay to do so. And maybe if like coaches are okay with that, but like do not be the one to like call them by their first name. Usually using coach last name is the way to go. Just good to know that. Keeping your emails clear and succinct. Here's an example of a template I shared on Twitter. This is it's kind of hard to do in the Twitter character limit, but this is kind of just as an example of a initial outreach email. This kind of shows the personal touch you can add in the brackets there, like the your reason why and that kind of stuff. But it's also good because there's line breaks, so it's like not all jumbled into one big paragraph, and it's also like short and succinct sentences. So this is kind of just like actually human psychology. I'm not a psychologist, so I'm not trying to offend anyone that might be here, but what I mean is that as a human, like me, when I'm reading my email, for example, I hate long emails. When I see a long email, I probably am not going to read it, at least right then. If I see them, it's from a person that I care about or that's important, I'll take the time to read it. But if it's from a stranger and it's super long and the subject line's not clear and there's not a clear action, I'm not going to read that email. And the only caveat I have to that is, you're in a very like specific position. Like, coaches know that recruits are emailing them, so it's not that they're not going to know that your purpose of the email. It's just that you're making it harder for them to learn about you if you jumble in a bunch of information that's not important. So just make sure the information you send is important, so you can keep it succinct so that they're reading it. And next is the follow-up piece, which I will keep saying how important this is. I call it follow-up hustle. You want to be keeping coaches up to date with new information, like your test scores or highlight footages that changes throughout your high school career. So those are good check-in points, right? So let me break this down in two ways. There's following up with coaches on a regular cadence when they can't email you back. And then there's following up with them if they can email you back, but they don't. And that first step, my recommendation is to do something like set reminders to send an email once or twice a month, maybe once a week, depending on how much your process is changing and you know how many new highlight videos or test grades are changing. But in general, I'd say like twice a month is probably enough. If you're just sending general updates or maybe following up saying like trying to basically trying to remind them that you're still there and that you're still interested in their program, right? If you're early on in the process. At worst, what's going to happen is if they're not interested, you're going to get on their camp emails and another talk, or if you want to send me an email after, I can give you more information on that and what that might mean. And then on the other side of the spectrum, if they can email you back and they don't, what you want to do is also set reminders. So what I do is I snooze emails. So Gmail has a snoozing functionality. I posted something the other day, and if you want, follow up with me after this and I'll send you that clip I took where I kind of showed you how to snooze an email and how you can use that feature to follow up. But if you snoozing an email, for those that don't know, is basically like if you have an email in your inbox in Gmail, or I'm sure Yahoo and some other providers have this now, you can click snooze to a certain time in the future so that the email actually leaves your inbox now, but it's not actually gone. It just will pop back in at the very top at the time you set. And if you actually leave it as like unread, when it comes back, it's going to be an unread email, which all of us instinctually want to read. So if you send an email, set it to snooze for a week or 2 weeks, it comes back, you can set it to snooze too if they don't reply, right? So it's only going to come back if they don't reply. That can be a reminder to follow up right then and there. You're like, hey, coach, did you see this? Keep it super short. You're like, I just wanted to make sure you got this, or is now still a good time to talk, or I know you're really busy, but I just wanted to make sure you got this. Basically, when you follow up, be super respectful. I can share more examples if you want to email me or have more questions about that later, but you want to be really short, keep it respectful, be respectful of their time because they're really busy and they might have just forgot. But I've talked to some coaches and they definitely like you to follow up, even though you might feel annoying. You're not being annoying. And if you are annoying them, they're going to tell you that, and they're going to say you're annoying me probably because they don't want to recruit you. They're probably not annoyed if they want to recruit you. And to be honest, a very small percentage will be annoyed with you, trust me. So don't be too worried about that. And the last point here I want to make is that no response does not necessarily mean that they do not want you. And that kind of ties in with what I was saying, is to keep following up, because coaches are people. They're going to forget to respond. They're not going to see your email. There's a million reasons why you might not get a response, or it might seem that a coach isn't interested in you, but it could just mean that they're super busy and that next email you send, they're finally going to see. So definitely stay consistent and persistent with your follow-up. Next, I want to talk through some other channels, my favorite being Twitter. Text is good if you're farther along in the process and you've already made initial contact. If a coach is cool over text, that's obviously a super easy way to get in touch. It's super fast. Twitter is also really fast. And the reason why I think Twitter is really great is because most coaches are on there. And some tips I have for that is, make sure to use, you can almost use Twitter. I tell people this as like your second online profile. So to be honest, if you want, you don't even need to make an online profile if you use Twitter correctly. You can be updating your followers, which could be coaches, or you could just be like tagging coaches or accounts that have coaches follow, for example, so that they maybe like or retweet it and the coaches see it. But it can be your personal profile. You can stream all your highlights over time. You can stream your workouts, kind of give updates on what you're doing, things like that. So it's almost like a perfect timeline of your recruiting process in one place. And if you keep it professional, make the website link your profile or your highlight video. It's a really, really awesome thing to take advantage of that I think more and more people are now, but that's still not enough to. And last key here is to, but at least make a Twitter profile, or ideally make an online professional profile. not millions, there's dozens of companies that offer this. Like many of you are familiar with NCSA. My app Productive Recruit's going to offer this. This is actually a screenshot from the new Productive Recruit coming out next month. You want to make this so that when you are emailing coaches or giving them a brochure to showcase, that they can easily see your GPA, your test scores, highlight links, all that stuff. You want to make it really easy for them to recruit you and not have them be searching for you on Google. You want to just give it to them in one place. But you guys already know that, so let's move on. All right, so after this, we're going to do some Q&A, but I just wanted to quickly go over what Productive Recruit is and how it might be able to help you. So Productive Recruit is an all-in-one communication platform to communicate with college coaches. For those familiar, parents online, it's like a quote-unquote CRM for college recruits. CRM traditionally stands for customer relationship management. In this case, it's coach relationship management. And all that really means it's a place to manage your contacts. And in this case, it's a place to manage your communication with college coaches. So it's going to help you reach the right coaches with the right message at the right time. The reason that can be is because you're going to be able to see if coaches have read your email or clicked your profile link. So you're going to be able to have more insight on when you should maybe follow up with them. And most importantly, it's going to help you stay organized, focused, and get the most time out of your, the most of your time invested in the process. And this is because, so if we're looking at the features, that actually the third one is you can keep track of everything from communication, so your emails, the tasks that you make and complete for coaches, and any notes you add, like for calls that you've had with them. Maybe you want to take some notes during the call. Things like that. It's all going to be streamed on a single page for each college program, so that everything's organized in one place. It's not jumbled around your email inbox or in an Excel sheet. Each college you talk to will have its own page where you'll have all the coach contact information for that college. You can email them all that good stuff. And you're also going to get a personal recruiting email address. So it's going to be sent directly from you, not my platform. It's going to look like it's sent from Gmail, Yahoo, or anything else. And you're going to have the power then to see if they open your email, click on a link, things like that. And last but not least, you're going to have the contact information for every college coach of your sport. As of right now, that's getting automatically updated every 6 months, and I'm going to try to improve that to be updated more frequently than that. And the launch plan is to launch for soccer, because that is where I have the most interest right now, but I have plans to get all the coach information in there for other sports like volleyball, softball, baseball, football, etc. Soon after. So please, if you have any questions on that or how you can become a first user of that, please get in touch after this presentation. But without further ado, because I've just been talking a lot, and I hope it's been helpful, please, if you have any questions, I have the chat up now. If you want to ask your questions in there, we can take a few minutes now. I think we have like 10 more minutes until the meeting's up. I can answer some questions, and then here's my contact information if you want to follow up after. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. So I'll just wait for some questions. And if you don't have any questions, feel free to head out or just email me when you have them. And also, oh yeah, someone asked. So yeah, I did record this, so I can actually email you all a recording of this after if I can figure it out. I should be able to figure out pretty easily. So stay tuned for that as well, so you can kind of have a copy of this, remember anything, because I know I talked quickly. Apologize for that if I was a little too quick. It was my first time presenting in front of a live audience like this, so sorry about that if I was a little quick. I promise I'll get better next time. All right, we have a question. Okay, from Louis. So what role do high school soccer What role does high school soccer play in the recruiting process? Do college coaches attend high school games? Very good question. Um, from the insight I have into growing up in San Diego, I have personally seen local college coaches show up at our games. So for my case, one time I know the San Diego State coach was there, and the UCSD coach came to a few of my games because they were actively recruiting me personally. The short answer is yes. College coaches, if you play for a good high school team, or if they have, if there's players in that game that are being recruited by them, or that they might, maybe they just have a Thursday night off and they're have some time, and they want to go check out this good high school program, they're going to show up. I'd say it's less likely if you play for a less known high school program. If I'm going to be brutally honest, it's probably going to be they're probably going to target the high schools that they know consistently have good players because they only have so much time to recruit. For soccer, I still highly recommend playing both high school and club if you want to get recruited. And the main reason for that is that club has showcases and more connections with college coaches usually. And for soccer, coaches tend to value club more, even if even if you play for high school at a good level, coaches tend to lean thinking club is a better quality, which it usually is. So they're gonna more likely scout you at college, at club games. But once again, the short answer is yes, you can get scouted at high school games. All right, a question about how do you get a coach to like you? It's a very good open-ended question, which I'll do my best to answer because that's obviously a hard one. The easiest answer that I'll give is just be yourself. And all that means is like don't try to like change how you say something or how you act in front of them. Obviously, like act professional on a call, but something I didn't do well is I think I almost got like stiff and really nervous when I talked to coaches because I was shy. And I'm actually an introvert, so it's really hard for me personally to like get the energy to talk to people. Like for example, like I was nervous coming into doing this, even though I'm not in front of a live audience in person because it's harder for me to talk in front of people. So it's always like hard for me to even like get the courage to like call a coach. So if that's a situation you're in, I feel you in that. I believe in you, you can do it. But to get them to like you, they're gonna love you. They're gonna love you for you being yourself. And if they don't love you, then the good thing about that is then you're not a good fit for their program, for the culture they want. And it's good for you because then you don't want to be part of something that is not a good fit for you. So um, a lot of college coaches will talk about the culture they want to set, right? At least my coach did at Michigan. So a good question to ask too is like, what kind of culture do they have on the team? It's a good open-ended question, and coaches love talking about how great their culture is. So if you can get some insight into that, you might get some more insight into what kind of players they like, personality-wise. All right, one more question. What are some ways a high school coach can help players in his program? Um, I think the best thing you can do is to just do what any coach does and continue to get better as a coach, continue to develop your players. The thing that I've seen in high school and even college, sadly, is that coaches get very obsessed with winning and not developing. And even though earlier I said that coaches want to show up to watch better high schools play, usually the schools that have the best development and the best playing style are the ones that are the best, right? Obviously, there's the schools that just want to play kickball just because they have a few good athletes, track players, and they just want to win. But um, I'd recommend to focus on the fundamentals. You're going to have a lot of players in high school, as you already know, since I think you're a coach given the question, that aren't playing club or aren't from as good as a soccer background. So if you can really help like those players who don't have that same club coaching throughout the year work on the fundamentals, it's really going to benefit them. It's going to benefit our soccer culture in America. It's going to do a lot of good things, and um, it's also going to help your all stars, your captains, your players that play club, continue to work on their fundamentals and and help their teammates. So I don't think there's like a magic answer to that. It's just more focus on the right things. Don't think just because it's high school and other teams are doing it that you should focus on winning and focusing on if you think focusing on winning is going to help them get recruited. I don't think that's necessarily correct. I think that I was actually talking to someone earlier about this, is that the best college coaches, in my opinion, are going to find the talent regardless of the team they play for. While the team you play for might help form you as a player, if you're a good player and you can play, if you can ball, you're gonna get found if you put yourself out there. So just keep doing you, coach, and keep working hard on developing them, making them better players. Good question, Jared. So the question is, with the uncertainties of showcases and college visits, what can athletes in states that aren't strong / respected in soccer do besides reaching out and sending a video? Man, that's a good question. So, and it's really good because it has to do with the current situation we're in. And by the way, really sorry, really lack of respect for me. I hope you all are doing well in this terrible time. So thank you for being here. And I hope that you guys are safe and that everything's going okay. Yeah, it's a really rough time. So as far as recruiting goes, um, right now, the most important thing you can do is digital communication, like text, Twitter, email, sending video. The hard part is though, is because coaches are, they're on their computers. I talked to a few because I talked to soccer clubs and stuff that might want to use the platform. And some of these soccer club coaches are college coaches, and they said they're super bored. They're sitting at home. They have nothing else to do. Like they can't, right? They're not training their teams. They're not in the office prepping. Like they're prepping for their season, but they're doing it over Zoom. And so they're basically just on their computer all day. So reaching out to them is key right now. Like they have more time than ever to look at your emails, look at your video. But the hard part is you can't get new video. So a cool hack I'd recommend is for soccer at least, is to, work on your skills and make videos about that. Like post yourself doing Techne. If you've heard of Techne, it's like a personal training soccer phone app. So you can use that, or just, you could film your kid doing sprints in your backyard or something. Honestly, just like it sounds weird, but if you post stuff like that and get some people seeing it, it just makes yourself look like you're a grinder and that you're working hard and that you want this so bad. So I'd keep it up. There's no magic answer though, unfortunately. I think we have about 2 minutes until we get kicked off. So if anyone has any other questions, I can answer some quick ones. Good question. You're right. They should be. So the question, if you're not reading the chat, is if coaches are bored and have time, shouldn't they be responding to emails? Yeah, that's a good one. What I'd say is that a rule I use in, like, if I'm like emailing someone, just to give an example, because I'm not getting recruited anymore, but if I'm trying to like talk to a club trying to buy and use Productive Recruit, I'm gonna email them probably at most 3 times within like a month, something like some sort of software like that. And if they don't respond by the 3rd or 4th time, I'm going to wait a while again to reach out to them, because I'm guessing they saw it and they're just the kind of email person that sees it but doesn't respond, but also doesn't tell you to stop emailing them. So it could be that kind of coach, or it could be a sign that they don't want to recruit you and they're just being nice and passive about it. But what a coach should do is, if they don't want to recruit you, they should email you back and say, hey, awesome. Hey, Jared, thanks for the email. I really appreciate your interest in our program, but right now we don't have any spots yet, or you're not going to be a good fit, but please, keep up the good work. And if you want, I can recommend you some other schools. I actually did have a coach do that, and that was an awesome experience. And it makes them look great, and makes you feel good about them, even though that you're not going to be good enough for whatever reason to play for their school. So I wish more coaches were like that, but unfortunately, they get busy, and some of them don't take the time to respond. And I understand it in some cases, but in others, I wish more took the time to. All right. And in case we get kicked off, thank you again. Please reach out to me on Twitter or email. Um, if there's no more questions, because we're on Zoom and this is a free presentation, it could get kicked off at any minute. So please DM me on Twitter, send me an email, and let me know if you have any questions about any of this content. I would love to talk more about it. Love to know what I could do to improve on this presentation.